All right, so let's see if I could get Corey on. So let's get Corey. Send her the invite. Okay. So we are live, ready to go. And just waiting for Corey to join us. And if you have any comments or questions, please post them throughout our conversation. I am very, very excited for this. What's cool is Corey was actually the first one to submit a story for this book, for Real Stories, Real People, Stories of Strong, Independent Single Moms. And when I got her story, I was blown away. Absolutely blown away. I don't want to take too much away from what she's going to talk about, but I definitely want you to be excited to hear. It is probably one of the most amazing stories that I had the opportunity of listening to and reading. Hey, there you are. Hey, Corey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Hey, thank you so much for your flexibility and your patience. We with some technical difficulties earlier, so I really apologize on that, and thank you so much for being flexible. So I definitely I'm super pumped up that we have this opportunity to connect with you, and I was just talking a little bit about your story in the book, and what a powerful story. So this is chapter 2, Held Captive, and I wasn't going to share this with you, but I'm going to. When I got your story about last year, and I read it to my now wife, and I shared your story with her sister and her mom, and I look after reading it, I look up, and all three of them are crying, and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, what an incredible amount of courage, tenacity." I mean, I can't even think of words to describe the amount of moral courage it took and strength to be able to go through what you went through, and I don't want to take too much away from it. I mean, I can't describe it as well as you did in the story, but I just wanted to give that introduction. And right now, Corey, you're in Toronto, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And I know right now you've started on a path of natural medicines and using Reiki. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am a certified Reiki master, and I incorporate that into the spirit medicines that I work with. I work with Kambo, which is a frog medicine from the Amazon. I also work with Sananga, which is eye drops. It cures a lot of ocular problems, so nearsightedness, farsightedness, and it stings. It's you apply it, but the benefits are amazing to the medicine. And we have another medicine called Nunu, which is snuff tobacco, and it's kind of like a rapé, and I apply that by blowing it directly into the nostrils, into the nasal cavity, and that's not comfortable either. But the benefits and the healing properties of this medicine are so amazing. I have nothing but positive things to say. People suffering depression, anxiety, PTSD, so many different things that, you could be suffering from. This medicine is like an amazing answer to a lot of it. And I struggle to say cure, because it doesn't cure. What it does is it cleanses out all the stuff that's been built up in our systems for years and years and years, and removes that stuff and allows our systems to function and operate the way it's meant to function.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if you're taking it, you don't look a day over 17 years old, and you're a grandma, is that correct?
No, I don't have any grandkids. Don't jinx me.
Oh, okay. So I was like, wait a minute. So you have a daughter who's
Yeah, my daughter's 20.
Who's 20? Okay, so you have a daughter who's 20.
Yeah.
And I for some reason I thought I remember a conversation. There was a little girl in your family for the movie that you're going to be launching, who's going to play your daughter
Yeah,
in the movie. Who was that little girl? I thought for some reason it was
daughter. I have a 3-year-old too.
so. Oh, okay. So you have a younger 3-year-old daughter. That's
Yeah.
okay. So okay. Now that makes sense. You have a younger daughter, and then you have the older daughter that's in the story. Got it. Got it. So I want to just I'm ready. I'm ready to dig in. I'm ready to just have you tell the story. And I'd like to take you back to when it first started off, where you were as a child born into a pretty tough situation, right? From the story, your father was an alcoholic, and
Well, my stepfather, my stepdad, addict, alcoholic. My mom, drug addict, alcoholic. Long history of alcoholism and drug abuse on the mother's side of my family. And then my biological father just wasn't present at all.
Mm. So if anybody's listening, so say we have someone that's listening right now, and they are raised in that type of environment. What advice would you give to them that helped you kind of get through that, because you were young, right? I
Yeah,
mean, you're being raised in this environment.
I remember it starting as early as 3 or 4 years old, and then it went on and on and on. Still to this day, my mother still struggles with those issues. And being in that situation as a young child, all I remember thinking is like, every time I found the drugs or whatever I found and I threw it out, I thought I was saving the day. I thought I was saving the world, and then to come back and oops, there's more. I must have, I don't know where I got the strength or courage I got, but I remember waking up at 10 years old and my mother strung
Corey,
out.
Corey, just so you know, I'm not sure if it's on my end, but you started fading out a little bit. It looked like it was just getting a little. If anybody's listening or can hear, is it if you comment, can you hear clearly right now? Because it started fading out for a moment.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, it seems to be running fine over here. I don't know.
Okay. So go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. So you were saying, so continue, please.
Being young and in that situation, it requires a lot of courage and knowing and believing what's right and wrong within your heart and soul, and just feeling it and following that, even if it gets you in trouble. I got in trouble so many times, doing what I felt was the right thing to do. And I wasn't going to stop doing that because it felt right. You go to school and you get these messages, bullying this and doing that, and call the police if this happens. And I think I've called the police on my mother a couple times, and it got me and my brothers apprehended. So it was different. It was very difficult. I ended up playing the role of mother to my younger brother and my mother. So I never had parents. I was in foster homes and group homes and stuff like that.
So starting out at this time of being in this type of environment as it is, it's already a challenge. When I hear your story, I think of Oprah, and hearing her story of when she was in that type of environment with her mom, and being sexually abused and being around alcohol and drugs, and as a young kid, and then being suicidal, and all of that. I mean, it was just a tough upbringing for her, and that's kind of what it thought, like a real story from not it's not an Oprah. This happens to just normal everyday people. And so if we had to kind of take you from, you have this environment, you're obviously very mature for your age to take care of your youngest siblings. You don't have a positive role model in your life. You fast forward, and then you're what, I guess 17, 16 or 17, 18 when you have your first child?
I was 20 when I had her.
20?
Like,
Okay, so 20.
yeah, I'm 40. So yeah, I was 20.
Oh my gosh, what? Okay, so good job. Yeah, I got to get on this Reiki stuff. Um, yeah, so you were 20 years old. So you were 20 when you had your firstborn. And to kind of walk us through that situation, like, was that like an oops, or was it like you thought that this was going to be the person that you were meant to be with? And
Well, her father came into my life, and he was the knight in shining armor that I was looking for after being in group homes and foster homes and not having a dad. So I had daddy issues, and he was charming, and he was handsome. So it was easy for someone like me to fall into his trap. Um,
mm,
Forward, and he's abusing me, and I run away. I run away to find out that I am 4 or 5 months pregnant and
mm,
didn't have any signs or symptoms. I was getting, my menstrual cycle through that time period, so I didn't know that I was pregnant. So halfway through my pregnancy before I even find out, and it was shocking. Um, the the clinic that I had gone to offered me the abortion at that stage. Explained, explained that I'd basically be giving birth, and that it would just they would kill the baby basically. And I was like, pardon me, no, not doing that, right? So I
mm.
managed to run away and get back home to my foster parents. One of my foster parents that I was with from the age of 18 to 19. Um, and I had the baby, and around 3 months old, because I didn't have my dad and I ended up with so many issues, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go find her dad and let her meet him. So I took her, and she met him. And, being the young, naive person I was, didn't know what was going to happen next. And I woke up the next morning after visiting him to no baby in the house. And I'm freaking out and oh, I'm gonna cry. I tried not to do that. I woke up in the house, there's no baby, and I was freaking out, like, where's my baby? Where's Kiara? Where is she? And that's when he laid down the law, and he was like, this is what's gonna happen. This is how you're gonna get an opportunity to see your daughter. This is what we're gonna do. And I got sent to escort agencies in Vegas and got beaten. He held me in his apartment as a hostage for 6 months around before he allowed me to actually leave the apartment to go and work. He would just bring people into the house, and uh yeah, and then he finally learned, like, I finally gave in and just was like, okay, well, this is my life and this is how I keep my daughter safe, because while she was with him, in a way, she was safe and she was okay, and she was coming back fine. She was coming back dressed really well and happy. So, as long as it was me that was getting the beatings and not her, or me getting raped, not her, I was okay. Um, so I kept pushing through. That's how I stayed strong, is just knowing that she was okay.
And was she going to school while this is all taking place? While these men are coming in and being with you, and he's locking you up and tying you up, and using you as a means to, I guess, he's making money off of this whole situation, I'm assuming, right? Is your daughter in school at this point?
No, she was only 3 months old, and I managed to escape when she was about 3, just after her third birthday.
Got it.
So she wasn't in school at
So,
that point.
so for you're talking almost 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years. So you said for 6 months, you essentially, from reading your story, you're tied to a chair or locked up in a room, and the only time you can see your daughter is after this. I don't even want to call him a man, because it's really not a man. I don't even have a name for him, you know. So we'll just call him your daughter's father. Um, would bring guys in, have their way with you, and only then can you see your daughter. Is if I read your story correctly?
Resist if I didn't put up a fight, if I, money was made and he was happy, I got to visit with my daughter. If I didn't behave, or if I didn't listen, or money was low, I got beat. And if I got beat, I wasn't allowed to see her because I was in pain. He learned really quickly not to hit me in my face. And I would take the blows to the ribs and the back, and because mess up the he wants to see that, right? He learned that that messed with his money. So he stopped hitting me in the face, which was great, to say the least. I mean, for lack of better words, it was better to get the hits in the ribs, the bruises healed, right? So,
And how did you control your mind in this whole process? I mean, you're talking, you just say, well, this is just how it's going to be, and this is what my life is going to be like, and this is how it's going to be like. How do you what goes through your head? As I mean, you're a slave. That's essentially what, that's what's happening.
it's victim mentality. It's psychology 101. Like, you go in, you've read about Pavlov's dogs? And how they have dogs that are able to escape the shock and electricity, but they lay there because it's like, what's the point? Because in the previous experiences of trying to escape, they're tied down. So it was a very similar experience. I had that victim mentality. Um, and so you learn to cope, and you learn to, like, look at the positive things that happen. You look at the experiences of, okay, if I do okay, I get to see my daughter. And every time I got to see her, I got to put on that mask, and everything's okay and everything is good, as long as um
Oh no, can you hear me right now, Corey? Yeah, it's breaking up. Can you hear me right now? Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Maybe there was just the internet where you're at, or the data, the service where you're at is just a little spotty.
I don't know, I don't know.
I heard you say I don't
Can
know,
everybody
so
else hear me, or
that's
is it
good.
just um yeah. No, Lindsay said she
Oh,
can't hear.
okay. So yeah, so it's just a little spotty. Um, but go ahead and so I hear you right now, so that's good. So that's good. So we'll go with it for right now. Um, I did hear you say that the once you get settled into that victim mentality, my question is how did you escape that victim mentality? Maybe there's someone listening that, or read your story, that is also in this victim mentality, that they're in an abusive relationship, and they're this mom figure for their child, and they're in this abusive relationship. Maybe it's not as horrendous is the word I choose for your situation, but maybe they're in this victim mentality. What advice would you give them to either escape that mentality, or how did you, um, was there like, what did you resort to for hope? Was there a book or a movie or a person, or like something that helped you like find that confidence when you needed it the most?
I was registered to an agency out of Seattle, Tacoma area. And a woman there named Jennifer, and I don't even know if that's her real name or not. She pulled me into the office one day when I had to bring in my fees, and she said, "Corey, what's going on? What's really going on? I want the truth." And I was like, "Oh, nothing. Everything's fine." I played the role. And she's like, "Bullshit, Corey. Like, Don't give me that bullshit. I want the truth. And I broke down and I told her. I told her everything, and I was honest with her, and I was scared to death. I had I had fear running through my entire body, thinking he's going to find out and he's going to kill me and he's going to kill my daughter. Um, and she said, you know what? I've been there. Look at me now. And she was an example. She said, I used to be you. I used to be you. And you've got to get out. You've got to get out for yourself, and you've got to get out for your daughter. And I said, well, I'm not leaving without my daughter. There was plenty of opportunities for me to get out without my daughter, but I didn't know where he was keeping her. So even if I had gotten out, I wouldn't have been able to find her. So she created a plan with me, and she gave me her family's pager number back when we had pagers. She gave me a code. She gave me a number system code for what location we were at. And she said, whatever she's doing, it doesn't matter what she's doing, she'll be there within 15 minutes. When he did allow me to have visits with my daughter, he kept me in my underwear or topless. So at this incident, he left me with his mom, and his mom tells me she's going to go to the store and she'll be right back in 10 minutes. And I was like, no, it takes you 10 minutes just to get to the store and 10 minutes to get back. So I knew that was my one opportunity. I thought it was a setup. I was scared shitless.
So his mom was in on this?
Yeah. His mom was helping. Oh. Yeah. And so she left and went to the store, and I thought it was
oh no. Hey, Corey, can you hear me? Oh boy, she's gone. All right, so technical difficulties, but wow. If you guys have any questions or comments that are watching for Corey, so that way when I do get her back on, I would love to. I'd love to ask her whatever anything that's on your mind. And just for those of you guys that don't know, this story is chapter 2, and it's unreal. So let's see if we can get her connecting right now. Okay, and you're back. Can you hear me?
I'm back.
Okay, you're back. So the last thing,
yeah, I can hear you.
thing we heard, and that's okay. We're just gonna go with it. The last thing that I was able to hear was that the mom was in on it as well, and then she was going to the grocery store. She said she'd be back in 10 minutes, and you saw that as your opportunity.
That was my opportunity, and I knew it was. If I didn't take it, I would regret it for a long time. I actually didn't think that the phone would actually be on, and when I picked it up and heard a dial tone, my whole body was shaking. And I punched in her pager number because she made sure that was ingrained in my head. Punched in my code, punched in which location we were at, and I stood in the window shaking and holding my daughter, just looking around at the bushes, looking at the other buildings, making sure he wasn't hiding behind there as a test.
And your daughter's 3 years old at this point.
Yeah, she's 3 at this point. And I see her pull up, and everything in me froze. I couldn't move. I was stuck, and I was standing there, and I was like, and I remember thinking, like, if you don't move now, you're never again. And I picked up the courage and the energy, and I ran out that door, got in the window, making sure nobody was following us. You hear me?
It faded for a moment, but then it went real quick. You got in the car, made sure that no one was following you, and then you drove away. And then So I wanna get to the rest of this part from this point forward. What happened next? I'm
Okay.
curious. I'm curious on this. You found this person. I don't know whether it was by grace, by luck, or whatever it was, but this person, you confided in her and you decided to trust her. And if
Yeah.
somebody's listening right now and they have someone in their life that they're maybe if they're this victim mentality, they're so guarded and being protected by their ego, and it's so hard to find trust. How can they know? Like, how did you know, okay, maybe this is someone I could trust? And I know you didn't. Maybe you didn't know. Maybe you just took the risk. But
Yeah.
how,
Nobody,
how could
nobody
somebody
knew
know?
Drew. Nobody. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell a soul. I was too afraid for their lives. I was afraid that he would find them and hurt them too, because I knew that they would want to help me. There are, in retrospect, since sharing the story and being honest about it and telling people what actually was happening, there were so many people around me that would have pulled me out of that situation. And I was so afraid. I just thought everybody was on his side. Nobody would believe me. I thought that, if I went and asked for help, that people would turn around and be like, oh, she's crazy, or, she's lying or making up, that it can't be like that. Um, the only reason I trusted Jennifer was because she called me on the bullshit. She was like, bullshit. I would need you to be honest with me, and I need you to be honest with me now, or I'm not going to give you any work. And so it was the fear of not being able to work, getting beaten again, and you know, that really pushed me to be honest with her. And she said what needed to be said and did what needed to be done. And I haven't seen her since. I don't know if she's out there. I don't know where she is. And if she's listening to this, I miss you.
That's she's. I'll tell you, she's a real hero, whoever the hell she is. I mean, because now you have a 3-year-old now, and you have a 20-year-old. You said, and I mean,
Me
she's.
and three, but all girls.
You said a 20, a what?
20, 14, and 3.
A 20, a 14, and a 3. You have 3 girls. So I would say, yeah, this girl, this woman, this stranger, through this random act of kindness, through this calling you on your bullshit, like you said, and got you out of this. So walk us through. Like, you haven't seen her since. She just, you got in her car, you drove, and never looked back. But then, how does it unfold from there?
Um, I got
And by
back
the
in.
way, I just want to say on behalf of everyone who's watching, and who's going to read your book and read the story, um, we just thank you so much for being this courageous to share this story. I can only imagine how tough it is to revisit these moments of your past, and I just wanted to say, um, the amount of courage that have demonstrated in the past 20 years ago, and the amount of courage you're demonstrating right now to revisit these experiences, are going to help so many people, and that's it. Just takes so much effort, and I just want to acknowledge that, and we all appreciate it. So I just want to let you know that.
Thank you. It's harder than I thought.
I can
Uh,
imagine.
yeah. I've talked about it and all that stuff, and I've never gotten emotional like this, so I didn't think I would.
I tend to bring that out of people sometimes. I think it's the hazel eyes. I think that's what it is. uh,
Larry King Live or something.
yeah, there you go. Well, I mean, it is an amazing story, and Alyssa Christine says she loves you so much. So I'm not sure who Alyssa is, but she's giving you some love.
Yeah, that's my baby girl. She's a friend of mine. She's a sweetheart.
That's great. That's great. I'm sure you have a lot of people who love you and respect the hell out of you for everything that you've gone through. and for you to be able to get in the car, you're holding your daughter, and you're driving away. What happens next?
Oh God, what happens next is the movie. The movie begins where I run out of the house. Um, and I don't want to give it away too much, but the drive between Seattle and Vancouver is about 2 hours, and the movie will be about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it'll be that drive home. Um, it. I sat in the car, and I could only ask myself, like, what now? What now? Who am I? I've been somebody else for so long, I don't even know who I am anymore. I lost myself in all of that, and I didn't know where to even begin to try and find myself. All I knew is that I had to. I had to try and find myself and create something for my kids to respect. Well, at that point, it was only my daughter, my oldest. Um, so, I remember he used to use white noise from the televisions when he was hitting me, to kind of make it less for the neighbors to hear, I guess. And as we were driving home from Seattle to Vancouver, it was raining. And that sound of the rain hitting the rooftop of the car was triggering me and, making me freak out and go through panics. And I was, I showed up at my friend's house 2 hours later, after replaying everything in my head for 2 hours with no shoes on, soaking wet, and, just knocked on her door, and she opened her door, and she was like, and I just broke down, and I just thanked her, like, thank you for being home. Thank you for still living at this address. Thank you for, just being here. And she just grabbed me and hugged me, and I ran to the car and grabbed Kiara. And that's where the healing began. It was hard. It was really hard. I didn't know who I could trust. I didn't know who I was. So,
Wow.
I
I just got so chills as you said when she was home. So she had no idea that you were going to visit
no,
her. Wow. I mean, I don't. Do you want to give that friend a shout out? I mean, that's an amazing friend because she took you and your daughter in, huh?
yeah, she took us in for a few months. Shannon, I love you. If you're watching, you you were there when I didn't. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Shannon was there, and
Mm.
she wanted some anonymity in the book, but she was the one who opened the door.
Mm. Well, I mean, it's amazing that you not only had the courage to get in that car, to trust this person named Jennifer, to just kind of go with it, to drive 2 hours into uncertainty. You got in the car and drove for 2 hours through the white noise, through the uncertainty, not knowing what was going to happen, not even knowing if your friend was going to answer the door. And by the grace of God, the universe, or whatever, she was there,
Yeah,
and you were able to, I mean, start rebuilding a life.
yeah,
And I, I, if I'm hearing this right now, the part that resonates with me listening to this is the finding yourself afterwards, because whenever someone goes through this much trauma of being physically and verbally and emotionally abused for 3 years and sexually abused for 3 years, I mean, to find yourself after so much pain is in itself is remarkable. Could you walk through that? I know that might be, again, that might be the movie that you're putting together, but I'd love to be able to share with anyone that is listening, that had to go through some sort of abuse, but then find their truth after it's been buried for so long.
yeah. Um, It was a constant work in progress. It was constantly challenging. Just when I thought I found myself again, I would be pushed back and have to search all over again. Um, because I was just putting on another mask of what I thought everybody wanted me to be. Because I learned how to do that really well. I learned how to put on a mask and get a job and, find myself and, work through things. Um, I had to push myself through a lot of those challenges, uh, and constantly growing, constantly healing, constantly digging past the scars and making those scars bleed and, you know, pouring my life out and starting over again. It was always constant.
Mm. Catherine says that you didn't just find yourself, that you also helped shine the light for so many other people. What do you think she means by that?
Well, in the last 3 years, I've really stepped into who I am and my truth. Um, as I said, I share the medicines now, and I work through a lot of that stuff with other people. But what she also means is that I I don't know. It. I understand what she means. It's just it's really I'm emotional. um, Catherine,
That's
explain.
okay. And Catherine could feel free to continue explaining if she'd like. And for me, and I obviously this is our first interaction really talking. So just from reading your story and the brief interaction that we had, I would say by you being willing to go into a field service through your healing to helping with energy management and helping with raise 3 daughters, and to have the courage to have, I mean, you obviously made 2 more daughters after all this took place, so you had to have found some sort of trust in men again, after this whole situation. I think that I think she is absolutely right, where energy is contagious, and you're helping so many people through your story. So her response is that you're a beacon of light, not with Cambo, so much of personal energy into it as well, and puts light into everything. Just simply amazing. It sounds like you have a lot of people who really, really love you, and I don't blame them. I mean, what a remarkable human being. I would love to. I'd love to, and I respect Corey. I can only imagine. I mean, how busy you are with 3 kids, running businesses and working and everything. So I want to respect that for that. And, I'd love for you to just shed just your opinion and your thoughts on pushing beyond the scars. Um, you said that I, I experienced these challenges. I found my truth, and when this other stuff comes up, I kind of push through it. I'm curious as to how you found the trust with men, because if you have a 14-year-old and a 21-year-old,
20, which is Kiara. She
or
was
20, so 20, so three, so there's 6 years in between them. So 3 years after you got to your friend's house, 3 years later, you had your second daughter. I'm curious, that 3-year healing process, how did you end up finding another man that you could actually trust? Because I got to lead to believe there's a woman listening to this who is this strong, independent, single mom who had this daughter, went through some physical, verbal, sexual, emotional abuse, and says, "Screw men. Men are horrible. I don't want to deal with men." And clearly, that's not true. There are some horrible men out there, but there are also some really good men out there, and it sounds like you were able to muster up enough trust in that man who helped you have your second child. I'd love to feel into that for just a moment.
I actually began dating him after moving to Toronto, because when I got to Vancouver, was about a year and a half later where Kiara's father had found me there. And he found me in a club. I went to a club with some friends and followed me home, and then knocked on my door. And I thought that it was the babysitter knocking to say that I had forgotten something down in her apartment, and it was him. And Kiara was 3 years old, woke up and was banging on my bedroom door where he was in the room, like holding me down and choking me. And I just yelled to her, I said, go get Tita Nico, go run, go get Tita Nico. And she ran down the hall and banged on their door. The babysitter, my friend who babysat her that night, he ran. And the next day I sold everything I owned and I moved to Toronto. That's how I ended up here, so that he couldn't find me here. Within a year of being here, I met my 14-year-old's father, and it was amazing. He was great. You know, we got along really well. But being the victim I managed, after a few years of being with him, I managed to turn him into my ex. I got him to become physically violent with me as well. And that required some healing. The aspect of trusting men was a huge part of the healing that was really complicated and difficult. That it's something I'm still working through. There's been many opportunities where men have stepped up and shown me that they're not all the same. I have friends that, you know, show me love and they support me through everything. But I still haven't gotten to the part where I want to be in a relationship. Right now, I'm in love with myself. Right now, I'm in love with what I do. Right now, I'm in love with the service that I'm providing for everybody. And it's through that I'm learning to trust that, you know, I'm not going to be single forever. And it's still a work in progress, though. It is.
And by the way, that's probably so healthy for other people to hear, because if you were to say, oh, well, I found this man and it's so great and it's all perfect and you'll find your true love too, I think that almost would have been unrealistic, because, you know, you're coming from, as a child, having, as you said, daddy issues, you know, as a kid, to not only then having daddy issues, but attracting these horrible human beings into your life that are physically and verbally, emotionally, sexually abusive. And you, I mean, to kind of go through that, no matter how old you are, how, you know, as you said, you're 40 and you're still working through that. It's a work in progress, but it sounds like you're on a really great path with falling in love with two important things, and that's yourself and the service of helping other people.
Yes.
And I think those are two great places to kind of pour your energy, and I think that's a great place to start. Eventually, when it's ready to show up, I'm sure, you know, that person is going to show up in your life, and you know, only time will tell. But that's amazing. And I guess the 3-year-old's father, I mean, I don't want to assume, but was he better than the first two?
I wish. Actually,
So,
it was being pregnant with her that skyrocketed my healing. She's a light. She's a rainbow. She's amazing little being, this magical little being who forced me, like, really hard into where I am now. She was a big catalyst for me. So he wasn't necessarily any better than the rest. He pursued me and pursued me and pursued me when I was pursuing my psychology degree. And I gave him the opportunity to kind of show me, okay, well, not all the men are the same. Okay, let me see. Within 3 months, he had cheated on me, and I was like, I don't want this. I want to focus on my school. I want to focus on me. I want to focus on this. And he had he'd come over begging, please, please give me another chance, and I said, okay, fine, I'll give you another chance, but these are the conditions. And he didn't respect those conditions, and I ended up pregnant. um, and he told me it was him or the baby. And I said, well, you just made this really easy.
Mhm.
My experience with men or the unconditional love of a child.
Yeah.
But he had to choose. So I chose her, and I'm so grateful I did, because she's amazing. She helps me in my circles, in my ceremony circles, in my healing. When she sees I'm in a bad mood, she's like, Mommy, do you want me to send you some energy? And she'll sit there and sends energy, and she's so awesome.
Mm.
um, yeah,
It sounds
but
like it's
I'm
the
not a
Catholic
man.
big fan. I'm
I
not sure
love
who, but she absolutely she seems like a great friend for you. So
Yeah, she's a great teacher. She's a great friend. She calls me her teacher sometimes, which is the truth. We're all students and teachers in life.
mm.
Just interact
I
a lot with.
I'm so impressed by your courage, by your honesty, and yeah, I'm just so impressed by that. I'm sure anyone who reads your story, anyone who's going to watch the movie, anyone who hears this conversation is I got to believe is going to feel the same way. That it's just incredible to think that you can continue to press on. And you said you got your psychology degree.
Yes,
So
bachelor's
you,
in psychology. I have my master's in Reiki. I have neuro-linguistic programming certifications. I'm a certified practitioner of Cambo. Um, I've always been pursuing the service industry, a way to serve other people. I always wanted to help children who are in foster care, because living in foster care is hard. Um, I wanted to be a foster parent eventually one day and give back to children what I had no choice in taking. Haven't gotten there yet, and I still plan to. I'd like to get there. Um, and so I pursued psychology mostly because I wanted to understand myself. Why could I possibly live through all these things and still love and still give and still want to pursue helping other people and trusting people? How is it possible that, it's not normal for me to feel so forgiving and so loving and so understanding and compassionate? Um, but now I understand. I'm a healer, and that's my calling. And the highest calling for a healer is to experience.
uh, highest calling for a healer is to experience, and left me on a cliffhanger. Can you repeat that? It froze up as soon as you said the highest experience for a healer is, and then it froze, and I was like,
Yeah, experience for a healer is to go through all the difficulties your participants or your clients or whomever are going to experience. And we as healers and light workers always go through the worst, because we need to be prepared for when we meet those people in life to be able to say, grab my hand, come with me, and how to reach them. Because you can reach out to them, be like, oh, he's no good, you shouldn't be with somebody like that, you shouldn't. It's easy to say that stuff when you haven't been in the situation, but when you have been, people listen, people hear you, and they trust you. When you have survived and gone through and then stepped into something where I feel successful, I feel like I'm a success story. And when you've lived that and you can reach people and say, I've been there, I've done that, you can move on from this, let me show you. you
mm.
know of course that person has to be ready and willing, but the most important thing for light workers and healers to do is actually go through the experiences themselves. As sadistic as that might sound, it it's been a truth.
It is the truth, and I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan, and one of the things he says is that when you walk through your fire, and he literally walk through fire, 1,200-degree burning hot coals, is walk through that fire yourself. That's when you can actually help other people walk when they're up to their fire, if you will. You can actually guide them through it because you've already walked through it yourself. So I believe that. I do believe that, and you're a very special human being. My final question about this is if you have a girl who does have those daddy issues at a young age, maybe her father was abusive or whatnot, and I'm curious if you have any advice for the younger girl versus you that maybe could avoid being attracted to these abusive men that you've been attracted to in your life. Do you have any advice for that you've maybe been providing for 3 girls? You might provide to another young girl be here, maybe eventually hears something like this.
The biggest advice, the biggest piece of advice I have to say is learn to love yourself first. If you learn to love yourself, you're going to standard for what you expect of other people. And if you can't love yourself, you know, it's really difficult for somebody else to love you. Loving yourself first puts you in a better position in relationships because you show that you have respect for yourself, which means that the other person has to respect you. And if there's no respect and there's no love, you need to find something else that makes you happy. And I know that this might not be what you want to hear, but if I was to meet my younger self, I would just say, keep pushing, because you're going to get through this. And when you do get through this, there's going to be so many people that are going to come to you to help them get. You know, everybody asks me, what would you change in your life if you could go back and change something? Nothing, because I turned out pretty damn good. And, you know, it's hard and it didn't. I can't hear you.
It's like faded like a robot.
Oh,
But
sorry. Is it better now? You're better.
It's better now. It did come through that you said you love who you become. I agree with that statement. I think many people could agree with that statement. All I keep seeing across my screen is our hearts keep flying across the screen of how much love people are sending your way. So I agree 100%. Corey, I can't thank you enough for your time, and the energy you put into telling your story and the amount of courage it took to tell your story and how much emotion I could imagine it could bring up. If anybody wanted to, learn more about how to stay in contact with you, learn more about your Reiki healing, learn more about how to get involved with anything that you're currently doing, if they wanted advice or if they wanted to just stay in contact with you in some way or reach out if they needed someone to reach out to, what do you think would be the best way for them to do that?
They can get a hold of me through Facebook. They can email me on my business website. It's info@owlawaska.com, and I'll type that out because it's complicated.
Yes, please.
Be on here. I'm always open. If somebody wants to reach out to me and just want somebody to talk, I'm open. I'm in an amazing group of other healers as well on Facebook that love being a part of other people's journeys and watching the transitions. I would refer them there and have them a part of our family there. There's
And what would be is it a website for that community, or
Two Bodies, One Soul Wolfpack.
So if you could type that into the comments, I'll add that.
There, Catherine Yeah. Yeah. That's an
Okay,
amazing
Catherine
community
did it.
of people. They've been completely supportive of my transitioning and my growth. They're an amazing group of people for others who need help. It's fun, it's loving, it will challenge you. We challenge you to grow, we challenge you to push through, but it's all with love.
Hmm. And if someone wanted to get information, you said your business email address. But what if they're interested in the Cambo or some of the energy treatments? What would be a good place? Where would be a good place for them to get information? Can you type that website? Do you have a website for that, or?
Yeah, I have a website and I'll put that up as well. Do
You
that
know,
right
have
now.
we have 1,400 members in our grad community, and all around the world. So maybe someone might hear this story and say, "Wow, I'm interested if I could have that amount of mental calmness and toughness and emotional courage. I'd like to and look that young. If I could have if
My
I want what
gray
she had.
hairs are back in black.
Oh
Like
yeah.
my hair.
Oh yeah. You're right. Never mind. We don't want what you have then. Never mind.
My gray hairs. I had gray hairs. They're growing back in like natural color. It's
Wow.
amazing.
That
Yeah,
is amazing. That is
I'm
amazing.
aging
So
reverse.
that is
But
incredible.
I'm going on tour in the middle of January. I'm going to be hitting 8 different cities all along I'm going up into Edmonton, Vancouver, I'm going to San Diego, Seattle, Washington. I'm going to visit my stomping grounds. I'm going back there. It's going to be some healing work there too. Um, I'm going to be in Phoenix. I'm going to be going through I've got my tour on my website. If I'm not hitting your city and you want my treatments, message me. I'll stop. I don't care where you are. I'm not doing this for money. There are fees, but the fees cover my costs. I'm basically going for free. Um, and, you know, if you want distance Reiki and you're not in Toronto, if you're in Toronto and you want a session with me, I offer my sessions for free or by donation, what you can afford. I do energetic exchanges. So if you have something, you know, sometimes it's just a hug.
Mm.
I, so if you're in a situation and you need what I have to offer, I don't have, I mean, there's fees obviously, but for some people that are in situations, I have sponsors, and I have subsidies available. Um, yeah, lots of people who really believe in the work that I'm doing have created
100%.
scholarships.
And I will say the fees are important, because if there's not a fee, then people won't value what you're offering to them in a lot of cases. And I think that's important. Just a side thought, sometimes that's important for them to value. And there's a lot of times people will want what you have, and it's really kind of you to offer it complimentary. But just a side note there. I just want to tell you that your story is absolutely incredible. This book is launching next Tuesday. So 100% of the proceeds from this book are going to PB&J USA. We've now provided over 50,000 meals here in the States, mainly in the Tampa Bay area, and now we've expanded across the country. We are anticipating on providing close to 10,000 meals this Thanksgiving season alone. We have 4 or 5 local feeding frenzies here just in the Tampa Bay area going on over the next week. So we're going to be using 100% of proceeds to help buy supplies for that. Held Captive, chapter number 2. And can you pronounce your last name?
Yes, Corey Durocher.
Durocher. Okay, I definitely would have messed it up. I would have said Gringo Durocher.
Yeah.
So So, chapter 2, thank you so much for your courage and for your energy and for sharing an unbelievable, heartfelt story here. Our final Facebook Live is going to be Thursday night, and that's going to be with Becky McCoy. That's our chapter 6. That's going to be our final our final story and our final Facebook Live. It's really cool because Yerlin is out in Costa Rica, you're up in Canada, and we have all across different states across America, and this is going to be Becky's story, chapter 6. And it's called I'm not their I am their safe place is the title of her story. We'll be doing that 8:30 on Thursday night. So if anyone wants to hear her story, tune in. And thank you again for, if there's anything else that we could do to support you, your causes, I'll put all the websites in the post, and just thank you, and keep pushing forward. And you are a awesome being. So thank you for your courage.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching and supporting.
Absolutely. Have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too. Good night.
Bye.
Now get off.